What's the deal, good people? We back outside. We back outside. We've been the mix. Hold on, I gotta move over a little bit. Hold on, let me adjust that. We'll give it a sec. Let people join. We'll give it a second. Let people join. Good evening. Y'all know what it is. It's the wind down. As you're joining, please make sure that you like. That's going to help for the algorithm. Remember, we want to have as many different people tuned in and having these good conversations as possible. Oh, do I need to? Oh, no. Keyboard on. Come on now. Keyboard working. All right. So as you can see, we're back in the other room setting up. Good. We are good to go. I like it over here. What are y'all drinking? But you got some tea, you got some wine, maybe something a little stronger. How was your day today? As I said, please make sure as you join, you are liking for the algorithm. Maybe even share with your group. I'm getting ready to first silence my phone, and then I'll be sharing with my group as well. Ooh. Big bro Doug is in the building as always. Come on, y'all know that. All right, enough of that. Let me pull the notes up. Like I said, I already shared with my group. Hopefully y'all can share with y'all group. And if not, just please make sure that you're liking for the algorithm. That's the least, right? The least that we can do to help each other out. But we got a bunch to talk about. And we actually did an emergency show yesterday on Mark Zuckerberg's letter. If you did not get to see that, please, for yourself, check that out or check out any other video. But make sure that you're looking at something that actually details, and we'll go over it, I guess, since we're here. But being able to read that entire letter, we're not going to read the entire letter that Mark Zuckerberg sent, but we will touch on that topic. We got a little bit of okay. All right, we fixed that. And hold on, boom. We are good. So what do we got today? So we're going to start off, actually, we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to look at some hypocrisy. We're going to look at some hypocrisy with some people's favorite MSNBC analyst, news anchor, journalist, opinion person, whatever you want to call them, Rachel Maddow. So we're going to take a look back at an older video from Rachel Maddow. We're going to then transition to a video from Russell Brand. And it's just going to highlight some of the hypocrisy, especially with Mark Zuckerberg coming out and saying that the Biden-Harris administration bullied him and Meta into censoring certain things during COVID and to demoting stories that were real. So we're going to get a little into the hypocrisy of that. What else do we have? The Secret Service pulled protection on RFK. Why? Well, we understand what they'll say why, but we'll take a little bit of a deep dive into that. Won't spend too much time. Then we're going to look at the new slogan. So this is going to sound crazy, but I'm not sure if the Democrats know what their new slogan actually represents, but we shall take a look at that. And then we're also going to look at political analyst Plies. You may know him as a rapper, but apparently now he's a political analyst. Hold on. And Plies is going to tell us, hold on, sorry. Plies is going to tell us why we shouldn't be asking Kamala any questions. We shouldn't be asking her any questions. We should just be supporting her. So we'll get a little bit into that and then get scented out here. And then what will we finish up with? It depends on what time we end up getting done with that. But we're going to show you a realistic situation that will show us how bad inflation has gotten. So we got a little bit of everything. So let's start off with this Rachel Maddow story, if I can get it queued up. And first and foremost, I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. I didn't even ask y'all, how's everybody doing? I didn't even ask y'all, how's everybody doing? Obviously, you know, Wednesday is always halftime for us. So we set out in the beginning of every week to make it the most amazing week ever. Hopefully we are on course for that. And hopefully this can add to that. Hopefully this make your week go by better. Give you some more information, have some great conversation, maybe even keep you out of an argument. Maybe this show should be about keeping you out of pointless arguments on your work, throughout your day. And I don't know, people talk politics everywhere. So maybe this will prevent you. You can get your political fill here. And all right, so we'll take a look at the first video. Like I said, it's about the hypocrisy. Sometimes we got to call the hypocrisy out, because if we don't, it's only going to continue. Shout out to Lana in the building. What's up, sis? We are going to take a look at Rachel Maddow. Let me share the screen. Got it queued up. All right. So as we walk through this, keep in mind, I guess I should actually say it. So if you're not aware, and we'll kind of walk through it as we go, but just to give a little bit of context, Mark Zuckerberg came out. He wrote a letter. He wrote a letter saying that the Biden-Harris administration bullied him and Meta, Facebook, and their social platforms, bullied them into censoring certain information about COVID and the vaccine. Think about that. You remember, 2020, a few years ago, when we were going online and trying to give information, trying to also get information from people who were experts. A lot of these people were experts in their field. We're looking to get information from them. And what ended up happening? They were censored. People that maybe spoke about different situations that they were going through personally, people that maybe talked about different things that they had heard from family members regarding the vaccine, regarding COVID. If it didn't align with the agenda of the Democratic Party, they censored it. Mark Zuckerberg wrote a letter. And then he not only mentioned that, but he mentioned before the election, there was an article. You remember that we've kind of played it a few different times over the last couple of weeks with Trump and Biden going back and forth about Trump accusing Hunter Biden of receiving money from China, having these deals with Ukraine, this laptop that we now know is real, that the FBI had for a very long time. The FBI went in, and this is all in Mark Zuckerberg's letter. The FBI, imagine this, the FBI reached out to Mark Zuckerberg and his team before they got any information. And they said, hey, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, they're going to be the focus of some disinformation coming up. So just want to give y'all the lookout for it. Just want you to look out for it. Then when the information came out, Mark Zuckerberg and his team decided to demote the article, which is pretty much just hiding the article. So there was an article that would have came out, I believe it was the week before the election, that confirmed, or that at least called it out, the things that Donald Trump was accusing Joe Biden of, and his son having the involvement with getting money from these outside entities. And Joe Biden is during the debate just saying, nah, it's all a hoax. There's no factual evidence to nothing, right? Maybe we'll play some of those videos. Hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully you guys just remember. It came out the week before. And think about this. An article comes out. An article comes out that is not favorable to one of the candidates. And the FBI stepped in and pretty much told Mark Zuckerberg and them that it's not real, knowing that it was real. Now, what is RFK Jr. running on? What did we talk about the other day? He wants to stop the politicization of a lot of our government agencies. This is what he's talking about. Now, I don't know if RFK Jr. inspired Mark Zuckerberg to get the courage to actually come out and write this letter. I'm sure it was a hard letter for Mark Zuckerberg to write. In my opinion, it's a little bit late, but I'm glad that he did it. I'm glad that he did it. I can only imagine the pressure that he was probably under to keep this information to himself, and he let it out. So maybe he's switching parties. Maybe he's just tired of having to lie. Maybe he's tired of getting bullied. Maybe he's tired of being a pawn in the election. And isn't it so funny how they talked about election interference? And I'm realizing that this is the case with a few different things. The Democrats were complaining and saying that Trump was involved or Putin's involved in election interference. I'm saying a bunch of stuff. But then they were actually doing these very same things, using the FBI to silence articles on social media platforms, which a lot of us rely on to get our information from. And then that's aside from the fact the COVID one is probably the worst thing for me, because you're preventing people from receiving information that could end up life or death for them. Life or death for them. So let's get into this video with Rachel Maddow. Shout out to Shy in the building. Yeah, Shy, we got a good one today. So let's take a look at this video, and I'm going to be stopping it as we go, just letting y'all know, because there's a lot of things that need to be mentioned. I want y'all to see. I didn't make the screen large yet, so I want y'all to see down here. You can see where I'm pointing. What does it say? 5 years ago? 2018. Yeah, I did some digging. MSNBC. I did some digging. And another thing that I want to show y'all, actually, let me do this. Matter of fact, we'll hold on to that. But somebody remind me to tell y'all, to show y'all the response that MSNBC made to Mark Zuckerberg, accusing the Biden-Harris administration of bullying them into censoring certain things and demoting certain articles. Please, somebody give me a reminder on that. All right, let's get into the video. So once again, this is 5 years ago. I would say that this video did not age well for MSNBC. I'm surprised they didn't take it down, but it is what it is. Let's watch it while we...
Buy money, though. The single most fascinating story in all of this is what has just been reported by veteran investigative journalist Dexter Filkins at The New Yorker. Just before the presidential election on Halloween, October 31st, 2016, Franklin Foer published this fascinating and very controversial piece at slate.com. And honestly, it has been driving me nuts ever since. We've talked about this reporting a few other times on the show. You might remember it was about logs of internet traffic, logs of communication between different computers on the internet that appeared to show frequent and somewhat inexplicable contact all of a sudden during the presidential campaign between a computer server at the Trump Organization and a computer server at a Russian bank called Alpha Bank.
So just to be clear, she's talking about, this is when Trump was being accused. I believe this was when Hillary was accusing Trump of having relations with Putin and Russia. There was a whole big thing that she made up, literally made up. Maybe we'll get into the details of that, but just so y'all understand what's going on. So this is right before the 2016 election with Trump versus Hillary, just to give some context.
Alpha is the biggest private bank in Russia. They have friendly relations with the Kremlin. You don't get to be big anything in Russia without friendly relations with the Kremlin. Alpha Bank is mentioned in the Christopher Steele dossier that was published to such great controversy right before the inauguration. Executives from Alpha Bank actually went on to sue BuzzFeed for publishing the dossier because the dossier does mention this Alpha Bank. Just a couple of months ago in August, that lawsuit against BuzzFeed was dismissed in a U.S. court. For what it's worth, I should tell you that one of the billionaire founders of Alpha Bank has a daughter. not that long ago. His daughter.
So just to interrupt real quick, because if you're like me when I first was listening to this, I'm like, what is she talking about? Like, make it make sense, connect the dots. And I had to keep in mind that this is from 5 years ago. So even though this is a 2016 story, she decided to put out something 5 years ago regarding this. So I just want y'all to be clear on the context of everything. So she's trying to set up her point, which is that there was even if there wasn't, matter of fact, let me just let her continue.
Daughter married Alex van der Zwaan. Crazy, right? One of the only people who's gone to jail so far in the Mueller investigation. Probably all just a big coinky-dink. But for whatever reason, at the height of the campaign in 2016, a server used by that bank kept making contact with a server at the Trump Organization. When that server was being used for almost nothing else, why was it communicating with a Russian bank? It's a vexing little mystery. Ever since Franklin Foer first reported on it for Slate.com 2 years ago, Halloween night, right before the 2016 election, it has been a very controversial piece of reporting. Well, now Dexter Filkins at The New Yorker has picked that up and run with it. And, you know, even if you have felt like this is one of those confusing stories, one of those sidebar stories about the Russia investigation that seems too technical and you're not sure you get it, pick up a copy of The New Yorker or go to newyorker.com. Just print out this Dexter Filkins article. Don't read it online. Print it out. Read it on paper. Read it in a quiet moment. One of the blessings here is that Dexter Filkins is a very, very good writer. And I promise you, even if you have been mystified by this story before, you will be intrigued by it the way that he has written it up. And I'm going to let him tell you the story. But just to prepare you for that conversation, here's a few things that he sort of blew the lid off here with this piece in The New Yorker. Number one, turns out that at the same time Franklin Foer was pursuing this story at the very end of the presidential campaign in 2016, the New York Times had been pursuing it too. Investigative reporter for the Times named Eric Lichtblau.
Do y'all remember this? Just real quick, write in the chat if you remember this situation or not. This was a huge deal. A huge deal. And it's funny because at the time, I was not a Trump guy. I did not like Trump. I was one of the people that was mad at Kanye for supporting Trump. I was on that side of the argument. Do y'all remember this? And to be totally honest, I'm not sure that a lot of people realize how this all played out. But let's continue. And bear with me. I know she's saying a lot without saying anything, but I just want y'all to understand how this news is presented to us. This journalism. This is supposed to be unbiased journalism. I just got a couple questions as we go through. So let's keep going.
Had the story and was working on it even before Franklin Foer started working on it for Slate. As part of reporting that story, Eric Lichtblau at the Times apparently came to learn that the FBI had an open counterintelligence investigation underway into possible contacts between people associated with then presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russia. Which means before the election, the New York Times was in possession of the story that there was an open FBI counterintelligence investigation into Trump and Russia before the election. Did I mention that they knew this before the election? Remember that headline about Donald Trump being the subject of an open FBI counterintelligence investigation about him and his campaign's contacts with Russia right before the election, the one that blew the lid off the election and changed it? No, the New York Times did not run that story.
So she's upset with the New York Times for not running a story based on speculation. Everything that she read, oh, well, there's a possible connection, possible this. Everything's on speculation. Now, I'm also looking at this in hindsight because you all don't know, but as we're getting ready to play some more videos, you will find out that this was all BS. It was uncovered that Hillary Clinton, her attorney, pretty much fed the FBI information about this. Her campaign manager acknowledged this in 2022 when the campaign manager was in court and under oath. Acknowledged that Hillary Clinton, with little to no information, nothing, she just pretty much had this information fed to the FBI through her attorney. Now, her attorney claims that the FBI, when they asked them, or it's all allegedly, the FBI asked the attorney, Hillary Clinton's attorney, hey, have you are you representing any other clients? The FBI says that the attorney said no. The attorney said that didn't happen. The attorney was representing Hillary. Don't you find it kind of strange that the attorney that represents Hillary is the one feeding the FBI information about the political candidate that she's going up against? Is that not politicizing government agencies? Is that not? Let's keep going.
Even though they knew that counterintelligence investigation was underway.
Even though they knew that counterintelligence investigation was underway. So let's say that it should be reported. Perfectly fine. There's a counterintelligence investigation underway. The American people should know about that, right? Okay, cool. Even if it hasn't been proven, the American people should know about that. And then it should just be, okay, this hasn't been proven, but this person's under investigation. Let's say that that's true. Let's keep going.
New York Times instead ran this rather infamous story, also on October 31st, which basically said, yeah, you know, the FBI looked into some stuff about Trump. People have been asking questions about Russia and stuff. Turns out it's all fine. There's nothing there. That's the story they ran on October 31st, when the Times knew at that moment through its own reporting that actually an FBI counterintelligence investigation into these contacts had begun and stood open. And they knew that directly because the FBI asked their own reporter, Eric Lichtblau, to hold off on some of what he had to report about this Alpha Bank thing because they were looking into it too, and they didn't want it to interfere with their ongoing counterintelligence investigation. So they knew.
You know what's so funny about all this? When you look at it in hindsight, I went back and I looked. The FBI has made it very clear that there was nothing to be seen there. It was all a hoax. It was a hoax that was created by Hillary Clinton to create the hysteria that Rachel Maddow was mad that it didn't create. And it's been proven since that there was no connection. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was a situation where the bank server was reaching out to Trump's server. And I think Hillary had a little something to do with this, allegedly, right? I got to say allegedly. I don't want Hillary Clinton suing me. But pretty much it was like marketing, like a bank, you know, a bank reaches out to you or something like that. There was no connection whatsoever of any wrongdoing or any substantiated relationship between Trump and this Alpha Bank. This was a planted story, a made up story to show some type of allegiance and affiliation with Trump with Russia. So it would look like Trump is colluding with Russia to take over the government. It sounds crazy, but if you go back to 2016, hopefully you remember exactly what was happening. But nobody cared because everybody hated Trump. So therefore, nobody questioned it. We just went along with it. I know I didn't question it. Let's keep going.
I love me the New York Times. As far as I'm concerned, the New York Times is the eighth wonder of the world. I do not want to imagine an America without the New York Times or with a lesser New York Times. But when it comes to how they handled the information that they had about FBI interest in the two presidential candidates in 2016, at some point there presumably will have to be a little bit of a come to Jesus moment about that, because that is a heck of a thing for the New York Times to have sat on and not published, especially given how dead the horse was they were aggressively beating at the time every day when it came to Hillary Clinton's emails. They knew Trump was the subject of a counterintelligence investigation at the FBI at the time. They didn't tell us. The Times has sort of apologized for that Halloween 2016 story since it ran. They've never run a correction. They sort of explained that their own disappointment in it. But now we know. The Times knew Trump was under active FBI counterintelligence investigation before the election. They didn't publish it. The Times also effectively killed what would have been corroborating reporting from Eric Lichtblau on that strange thing about Alpha Bank and the Trump Organization.
Let's take a little stop here. Did Rachel Maddow on MSNBC come out and apologize for this video? Now she's upset. She's upset because Trump, who was under investigation, not proven to be guilty of anything, under investigation. I'm not even sure if he was accused of anything at that time. Under investigation, she's mad that nothing was published on this and that it wasn't remember the beginning of the video? She said, remember, she was being a little bit facetious, saying like, oh yeah, you remember that article that came out, that big news story that broke, that blew up the entire election in 2016? That's what she was expecting it to do. So let me ask Rachel Maddow, one, have you apologized or have you come out and acknowledged that this story was made up? I don't believe so. I don't watch MSNBC a lot, but I couldn't find anything. But neither here nor there. Let's say that she did. When I looked on MSNBC last night, when I looked up, on YouTube, and I typed in MSNBC Mark Zuckerberg. Matter of fact, let's do it. Let's actually do it. Maybe they put something up. As of a couple hours ago when I looked, nothing was up. But I want y'all to look at something. Now, you would think that a groundbreaking story like Mark Zuckerberg and what we're about to show you would be a significant story for any news station to cover. But when I reached out to my mom yesterday, who doesn't really watch much of the news, she had no idea about it. Most of the news that's on in my parents' household, just to be totally honest, is liberal stations, what I would call liberal stations. She had no idea about it. You're telling me that Mark Zuckerberg, the person with the, I don't know, does he have the largest amount of members in America on his social media platforms? Meta, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook, yeah. He comes out and says that he was bullied by the Biden-Harris administration, who is still in the White House right now, and who has the vice president running for president right now. That they were bullied, that his company was bullied by their organization, their administration, into censoring information about COVID. Do y'all understand how serious that is? People are making decisions on whether or not they should give their children a vaccine based on the experts that they see, because we know that we can't trust the news. So when we go to and see what the experts are saying on Facebook and social media across the board on the platforms, we're looking to see what everybody else's experience was, right? But they decided to do something different. They decided to bully Mark Zuckerberg into censoring certain information that did not align with their agenda of getting you to take the vaccine. Think about that. The big pandemic, the global pandemic. So not only here, because obviously there's Facebook users in other places in America, he was bullied into censoring information, and then he was also bullied and encouraged by the FBI that there was going to be an article coming out that had no truth to it, or there was going to be a story coming out that had no truth to it. So therefore, when the story actually came out, he hid the story a week before the election. Now she's on TV complaining about something that Donald Trump was cleared of. But she's mad that the New York Times did not put an article out saying that there was an active investigation to see what Trump's relationship was with this bank. And it came to, I don't know whether it took a year, 2 years, whatever. It came out that there was nothing there. There was nothing there. After the investigation cleared Trump of everything. But she was making such a big deal about an investigation. But we should sit back and wonder, well, of course, MSNBC is going to make a huge deal about Mark Zuckerberg coming out and acknowledging what he acknowledged, right? Of course, she's going to make a big deal of it and ask the current administration, is this true? What happened here? Are we missing something? Of course, she's going to come out and maybe be very upset because she, as an American citizen, had certain information hidden from her that could have played a role in the type of whether or not she decided to get the vaccine herself, give it to her family, all of the things that occurred based on that vaccination. That was a very toxic situation and toxic subject. And a lot of it was toxic because so much information, when you were the type of person like myself who did not believe in just mandatory vaccines or who had questions about the vaccine, when you had my point of view and you spoke to other people about it, you were villainized. Yeah, you know, the same vaccine that they mandated for city workers in New York City, to where people got fired, lost their jobs if they did not get the vaccine. The one where they had to hire all those people back and give them back pay. That's the censorship. And it's so funny how I guess Democrats and liberals just don't care. I guess they don't care. I guess the people that watch MSNBC just don't care. So when we take a look over here, let's actually take a look. Let's look up Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg. We're not even going to put letter. I'm not even going to put letter. Mark Zuckerberg, MSNBC. Now, this just came out on Monday. So I'm going to go to the filter here. Let me make sure that you guys can see. I'm going to make myself smaller just so you guys can see it very close up. Oh, Shy see Trump in the chat. All right. I got a feeling who that is. That's funny. All right. So when I go to search filters, let's look at this week. Let's look at what articles came out on MSNBC. I see something on NBC. I don't see anything on MSNBC. Nothing. Wow, I don't even see, I just see one article. That's Fox. I'm sure they're going to talk about it. I don't see anything. How does MSNBC not cover this? MSNBC's all the liberal station, you know, their favorite station. How do you not cover that? Rachel Maddow, you didn't want to talk to your team? You don't think that that's something that should be covered? Especially now that Donald Trump, who was the person that was involved in order to, you could say, if I was Trump, I would say that that's election interference by you withholding that story, right? And it's so funny because I've heard a lot of Democrats that say the situation when the shoe was on the other foot, when I believe it was Comey releasing some stuff about Hillary Clinton, they said that tarnished the election, right? That ruined her chances of winning. So what about this? What about this, I'm asking y'all? Why hasn't MSNBC covered anything about this? Did the liberals get together and sign a petition saying that they didn't want MSNBC, their favorite news station, to cover this groundbreaking article? 3 months away from an election? About the current administration, the current president and vice president, Mark Zuckerberg just said that he was bullied into censoring certain things on a social media platform, that they involved the FBI in order to demote certain articles that would not appear favorably to the current president. I'm just asking questions, but let's get to the next video, because the next video is going to explain a little bit better than I can explain. So let's get to this next video. We already got it queued up. We're gonna get to this. We're gonna get to this. But it's just funny. Remember, that article is from 5 years ago. But it's amazing how some people, I guess it's tough to keep that same energy. It's just tough to keep energy sometimes. You know, you can critique one side when it happens to one person, but then when it happens to another, crickets, literally. All right. Which one is this? Elon Musk just. Okay, take a look at this. Let's go through this video. And I wanted to show y'all the Rachel Maddow one first on purpose.
You are not pressuring the big tech companies to take down accounts. You are not meeting with them to ask them to censor on your behalf.
That is correct. We are not.
Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg claims he was pressured by the White House to censor content related to COVID-19 during the pandemic.
Now, Mark Zuckerberg has made a significant about turn. During the pandemic period, we were told there was
So I got to hold on before we get into my dog, Russell Brand. So the first person that spoke, that was the United States Secretary. He's the current United States Secretary of Homeland Security, I believe. He was sworn in as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security by President Biden in 2021. 2021, one more time. That is the United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Let's go back to the beginning of this video, and I want y'all to hear what's going on. This is him I believe you got to be under oath, right? Let's hear what he says.
You are not pressuring the big tech companies to take down accounts. You are not meeting with them to ask them to censor on your behalf.
Everybody heard that, right? You're not meeting with them to take down certain things, to censor it. You're not meeting with these social media platforms, right?
That is correct. We are not.
Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg claims he was pressured by the White House to censor content related to.
What a difference a couple of years makes. It's amazing when people come out and tell the truth. Shout out to Cat Williams. 2024 is the year of the truth.
COVID-19 during the pandemic.
Now, Mark Zuckerberg has made a significant about turn. During the pandemic period, we were told there was no way that true information was being censored. So, the recent admission and acknowledgement that true information was being censored is pretty significant, if you ask me. Have a look at this comparison here. Here we have the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, in 2022, denying flat out that social media was being controlled. We have here Elon Musk saying that, well, have a look at what Musk is saying. This is on his own platform, of course. Look at this. This is from House Judiciary GOP. He's commenting on that post. Mark Zuckerberg just admitted three things. Biden-Harris administration pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Facebook censored Americans. Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden laptop story. This is a big...
Is it just me, or am I tripping, or are we not tripping enough? This is a government, this is the president, the vice president, and their administration being called out for bullying Mark Zuckerberg into censoring certain things on Facebook for the American people. It's so funny. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, right? About the Smith and Munn Modernization Act. This is an act that we talked about before where propaganda, there was a Smith and Munn Act, I believe it was in 1948. And what it did was it allowed for propaganda to be used to sources outside of the American public. So pretty much the United States, it was legal for the United States to be able to spread propaganda as long as it wasn't spread within the United States to the United States public, to the citizens. 2012 or 2013, I think it was 2012, Barack Obama and that administration decided to amend the act, and it was called the Smith and Munn Modernization Act. At first, it was just Smith-Munn, then they did the Modernization Act. And what it did was it allowed propaganda to be used at the request of the American people. Now, what does it mean at the request of the American people? Does it mean, when I go on YouTube and ask a question about a political issue or issue about, let's say, COVID, the vaccine, am I choosing to look at that information? And then based on me choosing it, they can spread lies, spread propaganda to the American people. But nobody seems to be bothered by that. I've had conversations with family members, and I said this and showed them the Smith-Munn Act, but nobody seems to care about this. But yet, it's pretty funny that from 2012, when this Modernization Act, this new act was amended, the older act was amended, isn't that around the time where the news started to get pretty extreme, to where they were starting to say certain things that it's almost like, well, how can this news station say one thing and this news station say a totally different thing? Somebody's got to be lying. But I guess it was legal. I guess it was okay. So let's keep going with this video.
Win for free speech. Now, like, if you look at this post, it's pretty clear that if the reverse were true, look at this. This is just from someone we follow on X, Geiger Capital. And try this thought experiment. Particularly try this. If you are someone who's thinking, I've got to vote for Kamala Harris, it's brilliant, she's fantastic, it's a person of color, it's a woman, it's a new Obama, I've seen the new poster, there's redolent with the hope and optimism that surrounded the Obama campaign. Think about this for a moment. Simply imagine if Zuckerberg had confessed that the Trump White House pressured his company to censor things they didn't like, and then Trump had the CIA, FBI falsely claim a laptop they knew was real was fake to help him in the election. It would be Watergate and impeachment. That is difficult.
I texted my mom this last night. I said, could you imagine if Zuckerberg called out the Trump administration of bullying them into censoring information for the American public and for using the FBI to pressure Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook to demote articles that would make him appear in a less than favorable way? Perhaps corrupt way would be the right way to say it. Could you imagine if that was Trump? Could you imagine what MSNBC would be calling out? Do you think that if the roles were reversed, do you think that when I type in MSNBC Mark Zuckerberg or MSNBC Mark Zuckerberg letter, do you think that nothing would come out? Or would every single news pundit on that station, could you imagine Joy Reid? Could you imagine Joy Reid? Could you imagine Rachel Maddow? If what came out about the Biden-Harris administration came out about Trump, what would they be calling for? Impeachment. When it comes to the Democrats, when it's something with Biden and Harris, MSNBC is crickets. That should show us, if nothing else shows us, if nothing else shows us that the information that we're getting is not super biased and propaganda that is to get us to think, process information a particular way, and to ultimately vote a certain way, and to formulate opinions a certain way. If we don't see this clear as day right here, then we'll never see it. And to be totally honest, I don't even think people care. Let me ask y'all a question. Do you think people care when people hear this information? When you're going to have your conversations, let's say tomorrow, and you talk to somebody who identifies as a Democrat, who identifies as a Democrat, when you ask them about this, what do you think they're going to say? I guarantee you they'll say something. Well, Trump did this. Will anybody take accountability with this? I'm just asking, but let's keep going on. Let's keep seeing what Russell has to say.
So let's have a quick look at this video here. Thanks. Let's have a quick look at this, where Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas denies pressuring social media companies, before just a quick glance at the news today that Facebook did exactly that. And Zuckerberg, rather wonderfully and admirably, regrets it.
So let me ask y'all a question. We've heard what RFK said, right? We played the article, we played the video with 19 keys, what he said he would do on day one. RFK said that he would have a policy on day one that any government official that is caught lying to the American public would be fired. Let me state once again, this is why they're scared of RFK. Any government official that is caught lying to the American public would be fired on day one, or whenever they're caught. This is the Secretary of Homeland Security blatantly lying. Blatantly lying. My question is, does anybody care? And the real question is really only for a certain group of people. Because we know that if you're a Republican, a conservative, you're not going to like this. We know that even if you're an independent, a true independent, you're not going to like this. You have no problem calling it out. The real question is, for the people that are Democrats, are you able to step away from your gang-like affiliation, just like the gang-like affiliation that people have with the Republican Party? Are you able to step away from that gang-like affiliation and say, hey, this is wrong. This is a very big deal. This needs to be addressed. This needs to be factored into who I'm going to vote for in this next election. Will they do it? I doubt it, but it is what it is. We're going to put the information out regardless.
We have example after example of this administration coordinated, apparently, according to a federal court, by your agency, pressuring, coercing social media companies to engage in censorship. Is that constitutional?
That is unequivocally false.
Is what the emails show.
It is unequivocally false, Senator.
You are.
They had emails showing this. And his response is that is unequivocally false. Y'all mind if I go back a little bit? Hold on. By the way, Josh Hawley, hopefully Hawley, if I'm pronouncing it, he's a funny dude.
That's it.
We have example after example of this administration coordinated, apparently, according to a federal court, by your agency, pressuring, coercing social media companies to engage in censorship. Is that constitutional?
That is unequivocally false.
Is what the emails show.
It is unequivocally false, Senator.
You are not pressuring the big tech companies to take down accounts. You are not meeting with them to ask them to censor on your behalf.
That is correct. We are not.
Here's my point, Mr. Secretary. It has been established for years in this country, as you very well know, because you're a lawyer, that the federal government may not.
A lawyer lying on the stand or in the hot seat. I don't know if that's considered the stand. This is bad. And this isn't just bad for Democrats. This isn't just bad for President Biden and Vice President Harris. This is bad overall. These are the very same principles. And it's, you know what, it's so funny. You know why I'm starting to see why the world is in such a effed up place right now? Just my theory. It's because adults don't stand on the principles that they raise their kids to live by. Adults are not standing on the principles that they raise their kids to live by. You learn not to lie, right? You learn to tell the truth. Even if it gets you in trouble in school, you tell the truth, right? These are the things that our dads, hopefully, but of course our moms. But when it comes to the disciplinarian side, well, our parents, let me just say that. These are the things that our parents and family members taught us from a young age. Do we really care about it? Or do we only care about it when it's Trump? Or do we only care about it when it's Kamala and we're on the opposing side? And when I ask, do we really care about it? This isn't even going to matter to anybody that already has their mind set on voting for Kamala. Or actually, let me rephrase that, because most people don't have their mind set on voting for Kamala. Most people just have their mind set on not voting for Trump. That group of people. It will not even make a dent. They will not even think about this. They will not even, this will probably, if they see it, they'll see it on somewhere where they probably don't even want to see it and never look into it. But this is why our world is what it is. Because adults can't follow the standards that we set for our kids. Let's keep going.
Use private third parties to engage in activities that are unconstitutional. That's exactly what you and this administration are doing. You are leveraging private companies to carry out censorship on your behalf. It's dystopian, but worse than that, it's unconstitutional.
It's also false.
Turn now to a story breaking overnight. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg claims he was pressured by the White House to censor content.
So I just want to take a look at so when you look at the screen, hold on, sorry, I don't know if it's going to go off. When I press play, you'll see it.
Content related to,
well, whatever. The top videos from 2022. The bottom video is obviously a more recent one this week from 2024. You'll see across the screen it says another conspiracy theory comes true. When we have a government that is proven to do the things that they do, lie, manipulate, bamboozle, play with people's lives, play with people's health, make decisions based on their pockets instead of the people that they're supposed to serve. What that ends up doing is people start to create conspiracy theories, which will be called conspiracy theories. That's why they have it in quotes. This was considered a conspiracy theory 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it was considered a conspiracy theory even though they had evidence of them doing it. But because you had Alejandro Mayorkas deny it, unequivocally false. People believed it was a conspiracy theory. people consulted with their own convenience. If you were a Biden supporter, you consulted with your own convenience and said, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory. If we are okay with our government bullying and using government agencies, I should say, to bully social media platforms, which we rely on for a lot of our information. All right. I know the people that are older, over 50, 60, I know y'all still look at the news. We actually go on social media, the younger generations. And I feel like it's even, I'm 37, so it's even worse with the younger ones, or I'm not going to say worse or bad. It's actually, I shouldn't say that it's worse. The fact that they have to censor it shows the value in it. See, the fact that they had to censor Facebook shows how valuable social media platforms are for receiving information. Because if it wasn't censored, that probably was the most unbiased source of information that we could have gotten. Because you go on Facebook, you go on all these social media platforms, you're going to get information from everywhere. You choose what you decide to lean into. You choose what you want to watch. But whatever people post, it's there. But you have censorship. Censorship. And government agencies. Isn't this the same type of stuff that they would accuse Putin of? Why is it tyrannical? Why is it he's a dictator? You're a dictator when Putin does something, but when the Democrats or the Republicans do something, it's just excused. When Putin uses government agencies or using certain tactics to make sure that he doesn't have any opponents that he's running against, it's dictatorship, right? But when the Democratic Party does that with RFK Jr., change the rules, do all this other stuff, and just don't elect Kamala Harris. She didn't run for a primary. She didn't earn anybody's support. They just gave it to her. They gave the nomination to the person that they wanted to give it to, not who the people voted for. And you know why they got away with it? Is because all of y'all that are Democrats, that identify as Democrats, the only reason why you sign up as a Democrat or a Republican is so you can vote in a primary, right? Besides that, there's no real advantage into identifying as a Democrat or a Republican. But it gives you the ability to vote in a primary, correct? So let me ask y'all this. I always hear that our ancestors died for the right for us to vote. Okay. Did our ancestors not die for us to have the right to participate in a primary? To have a primary that we can choose who the candidate that is going to get the nominee? Isn't that what our ancestors died for too? Because we like to run around and say our ancestors died for the right for us to vote and when it's convenient. But what about this situation? I get it. It's different, right? I figured that. Okay, cool.
COVID-19 during Zuckerberg claims he was pressured by the White House to censor content related to COVID-19 during the pandemic. Aaron Katersky joins us now with details. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning to you, Whit. For years, critics have taken aim at Facebook for silencing views that challenge the general consensus in the medical community, especially about the origin of COVID-19. Now, Facebook's founder surprisingly says they're right. This morning, Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg admitting he bowed to pressure from the Biden administration to censor content. The Facebook founder issuing a letter to the House Judiciary Committee that said senior administration officials pushed the social media platform to censor posts about COVID-19 and expressed a lot of frustration when the company resisted.
This is not about Democrats versus Republicans. This is not about Democrat versus Republican. It's about truth versus lies. It's about honor, principles, and integrity versus whatever else we're seeing right now happen. When we get caught up in the Democrat versus Republican, when we get caught up in the mindset anybody but this person, so we don't even consider another candidate. This is what happens. When we have more of an affiliation and allegiance to a political group, a political party and its politicians, when we have more loyalty to them than we do to the truth, when we have more loyalty to them than we do to principles, when we have more loyalty to them than we do to integrity, this is what happens. This is how this is allowed. We talked about it before on the show, where it's like we always get in these situations where it's like, oh my God, like it's like you ever wake up from like a nap and it's like I don't know, for me it happens on Friday afternoons where about like 3-4 o'clock, like the week has just took a toll on me and I'm like knocked out and there's no telling when I'm gonna wake up. And I wake up and I'm like, yo, like am I on ground? Like, am I alive? Where am I at? And you take the first 30 seconds to kind of like get your bearings and figure stuff out. You don't know whether it's 8 at night or 8 the next morning or 8 the next night. You don't know, right? That's how we move in this world. We act like how did we get here? I'm gonna tell you how we got here. We got here by consistently voting for the lesser of two evils. We got here by continuing to support people and allowing them to do certain things that do not align with the values that we supposedly raise our children and the values that we were raised with. We excuse bad behavior. We support these agendas, whether indirectly or directly. And what do I mean by we support these agendas? You may just be voting for the Democrats because it's better for your taxes, it's better for your Social Security. Cool. But when you also support that, you're also supporting having drag queens read to kids in libraries. You're also supporting the transgender agenda and everything that they got going on. I'm talking about the agenda, not the people, the agenda. You're also supporting your Vice President Walsh, Coach Walsh, putting tampons in boys' bathrooms. You're also supporting what's going on at the border. We're not just supporting. When we get in these fanatical mindsets, we end up aligning ourselves based on our emotional attachment to one or two things. We end up aligning ourselves with 8 other things that are extreme that we just push to the back burner. We act as if they're not even there, so we'll feel better about our vote. And then 4 years, 8 years, 12 years down the line, we're wondering like, yo, how did we get here? It's very clear how we got here. By not following principles, by men not being men and being leaders and standing on what is supposed to be stood on, regardless of whatever happens after that. This is how we got here.
Zuckerberg saying, I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. Adding, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan celebrating the letter, calling it a big win for free speech.
Obviously, the question that comes to mind is one that Drakovich just posted in the Rumble stream. That's one of the advantages of watching this live, is you get to comment on our content while it happens. Drakovich asked, imagine what else they are censoring. Now, imagine the kind of power that's being accrued using crisis, using protection, using convenience. Can it be a coincidence that across the world people are concerned about censorship? Can it be a coincidence that across the world people are being accused of being racist? Can it be a coincidence that across the world people are being turned against one another? Men and women, people of different cultures, people of different religions or colors, men and women being turned against one another at an unprecedented scale, to an unprecedented degree. Is this a coincidence, or is there something extraordinarily dark happening that must immediately be addressed? And is it possible that what we're experiencing, what is being exposed, what is indeed the thing that's truly hidden in plain sight, is that massively corrupt power is pulling up its petticoats and trying to protect itself while our movement grows, while real opposition grows, while people are awakening in 100,000 million different ways to the true corruption of the liars who at the heart of the establishment claim to be motivated only by concern of the vulnerable.
What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Do y'all care? Does it matter? When we look at these news stations, whether it's MSNBC, CNN, ABC, doesn't matter, across the board, we do realize that they are all in cahoots. I'm getting ready to show you a video. I think the lady made a joke. She said that, I don't know if they're all on the same group message, but we've seen this before. I've shown y'all a mashup clip. I've shown y'all a couple of mashup clips to where they literally say the same phrase over and over. You'll have somebody that works for NBC in LA saying the same thing that somebody in NBC Minnesota said in Florida. They're all in cahoots. All in cahoots. This is how you can pressure organizations to push propaganda. This is how the saying where if you keep repeating a lie, I don't even know what the saying is, but if you keep repeating a lie, it can become the truth to certain people who want it to be the truth. And even, I would say, even to certain people that don't necessarily want it to be the truth, if they keep hearing it from different sources, because now these different sources are saying it. So now different people hear it from different people, and then they come together and they confirm it. And then people actually believe that it's the truth. I'm going to give you an example of why I believe that all of these people are in cahoots. All of them.
We were just it was so much joy at, Let
me go
back to back. Now, the DNC side comes out and say, joy is their campaign slogan, right? We're just so happy. We were just so joyful. We were just it was so much joy at, the event that we had. The DNC was so awesome. Rob, you want to play this clip?
This is, just so you know, this is a montage
of a bunch of joyful things being said.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
The one thing that I will not forgive them for is their try to steal the joy from this country.
That's right.
The joy felt by Americans
From Joy
backing the
Reid.
Harris Walls ticket.
We are
She got
joyful
Donald Trump
warriors.
haircut.
Being joyful is part of the American identity.
Okay.
The joy factor.
Campaign of joy.
You're talking about radical joy.
Oh.
It is downright joyful.
It looks like a joyous rally. It looks like a joyous occasion.
A real zeal and joy in the campaign.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country.
Joyful, exuberant rally.
Thank you for bringing back the joy.
Power of joy, hope and joy.
Something incredibly joyful.
She does it all with a sense of joy.
Joy. Joy. Joy.
Joy.
Joy. Joy. Joy.
They all got the memo.
Joy.
Imagine that.
I have so much to say. Yeah, well, let me just read this to you, and then I'm going to come to you guys. I'm going to come to you guys. Let me just read this to you. So the story comes out while they're doing this. New York Times, who's on their side, all these people's sides.
Yeah, what do y'all think about that? Like, does that matter to us? Does it not matter? And another thing that I'm actually going to point out is, and this is something that I was actually going to talk about on Friday. Maybe I should wait until Friday. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what it was. So I'm going to show this video again, but I'm going to wait until Friday. And the reason why I was going to show it is because I wanted y'all to see the representation in there. Just looking at it right now, I think I saw out of the first maybe 7 people, maybe 5 women of color. Maybe saw 1 black man on there. I saw Al Sharpton on the screen somewhere. But it's very interesting who they get to push certain messaging. It's very interesting who they choose to be pawns in their army. All of this stuff is very interesting. And I have a video. There's an interview that I was planning on showing on Friday. I'll show it on Friday, of a black woman having a conversation and her highlighting how Democrats and the Democratic Party have emasculated men. You hear me talk a lot about men, male leadership. This is another reason why I can't stand the Democratic Party, because they emasculate men. Now, y'all can sit here and say, well, how do they emasculate men? They emasculate men. We're going to talk about it on Friday, but let's continue on this. Sorry to interrupt.
Repeatedly describing us having been spared to save the country after the assassination.
Hold on. Let me go back a little bit. I know we weren't there. Hold on.
While they're doing this, New York Times, who's on their side, all these people's sides, comes out, and here's an opinion that says, joy is not a strategy. On August 23rd, okay? So can you imagine they're like all being excited? Hey, we have such a great marketing campaign. It's joy. That's what we're all about. New York Times says, nah, it's not a good strategy. During the Republican convention, Trump was exalted by delegates as a near divine figure, repeatedly describing as having been spared to save the country after the assassination attempt. However, Trump squandered the goodwill from skeptical voters by delivering this same old rant in his nomination speech, failing to capitalize on a moment when people expected him to act like a changed man. Now, this is what they're saying. The Democratic convention heavily focused on Kamala as a symbol of joy, with the word being used so often that it felt overbearing. Bill Clinton even dubbed her the president of joy. But this emphasis on joy overlooks the reality that joy is not a political strategy. Voters are more concerned with practical issues like lowering household costs and improving access to housing, not just a feel-good rhetoric. Amy, what do you have to say about that?
Yo, we're going through a housing crisis. Young kids graduating from school can't get jobs. Our country has so much fear and hatred, not because I hate my neighbor down the hall. It's because of these news stations. It's because of them. They try to make us hate each other. It's because the politicians, they make us hate each other. It's like after Trump got shot, you heard Biden say, hey, we got to tone the rhetoric down. You heard the news pundits say, hey, Biden said, let's just tone the rhetoric. Y'all are the ones that heated up. We're not the ones with the platforms that are heating up this rhetoric. Y'all are the ones. So when we look at this joy stuff, with everything going on in this country, y'all want to talk about joy? Well, I guess if I was Kamala Harris and her team, and if I was MSNBC, whose probably ratings are, well, I think their ratings dropped a little bit, but these news pundits, they're good. They're happy. They're happy for Kamala. They're happy that it's going to be, let's get this black woman versus this racist white man, right? It's like a boxing. You know how in boxing they try to say, I don't know if y'all are boxing fans, but they always say like, oh, two black guys fighting each other, it's not going to sell as much. We need a black guy versus a white guy, or a black versus a Mexican. Y'all get what I'm saying? So they're just so excited that their ratings will skyrocket because you have people that hate Kamala so much and people that hate Trump so much. So therefore, all the news stations will win. Therefore, all the politicians will win, because the more people, the more hatred, the more fear, then they're going to be able to raise more money. The people with the money are going to throw their money out there, throw their support out there. It's all a revolving door that I can't even say it's a revolving door. This is all just a one-way street. Everything just goes to the politicians. Everything just goes to these news stations. Nothing comes back to the community. Nothing comes back to the actual people that they're supposed to represent. But they want to talk about joy. Were the last 3.5 years of your life joyful? All this stuff that we see in the homeless problem, all these things that we see going on in our country, the migrant crisis, all these things, would you consider it as joyful? So Kamala Harris, who wants to identify with Biden and the Biden-Harris administration policies, right? She wants to identify with those when it's favorable. She hasn't even said any policy of her own. She hasn't stated any policy on her website. A couple of the policies that I heard her talking about, she actually did say, I don't know if they're policies, but a couple of her stances, she actually just repeated what Trump said. What is going on?
This next line is great. Sorry, the Mean Girls reference. I don't know if you guys get this, where they say it's the new fetch for Mean Girls. Guys, Democrats, stop trying to make joy happen, okay? It's not going to happen.
What y'all are about to hear is going to blow your mind.
Anyone who knows Mean Girls reference would laugh at that. This is absolutely ridiculous. And you can see the way this messaging is being utilized, both to prop Harris up and also.
I guarantee it. I don't know when she's going to say it. I think she's going to say it in the next 30 seconds or a minute. I guarantee what you hear will blow your mind.
So to bring down to bring down Trump and to bring down J.D. Vance as well, because their messaging for the Republican side is that they're weird. So all in all, the messaging is that Republicans are weird, the Democrats are joyful, and I just want to know, what group chat are all of these people a part of where all of a sudden they just get the message, hey guys, this is the main strategy that we're going to be focusing on.
The word of the day is joy.
Exactly. Like it's so ridiculous. One thing that I found very interesting when looking into this slogan is that a lot of the people who write these speeches appear to not really do their research, because strength through joy is actually a slogan that was utilized before during a very particularly interesting part of history, Pat, which is actually Nazi Germany.
Whoa.
This was their main slogan utilized during Nazi Germany. Strength through joy.
The same line, strength through joy.
A Nazi-operated leisure organization used as a tool to promote the advantages of Nazism to German people, championed this as their slogan. And what's interesting...
Are you joking?
And what's interesting is by 1939, it had become the world's largest tourism operator. This exact same
Did you hear that?
So, guys.
1939, Strength Through Joy was the largest tourism operator.
Wow, it says it right there. Yeah, so KDF was composed of several departments with their own specific goals, but each department organizing different leisure activities.
Wow. Wow. Oh, man. And you know what else is funny, what a lot of people may not realize? I don't know if a lot of my Jewish brethren are going to like this one. And I don't know if we realize that outside of black people, black Americans, I did not know this until this past weekend when I was sitting down with my bro. And he actually was getting criticized in his family for voting Republican. Because the Jewish, like his family was telling him like, yo, our families, we've been, for 70 years, we've supported the Democratic Party. Now you're getting ready to. So there's a lot of Jewish people traditionally have always voted Democrat. Now with everything with Israel and Palestine and the Democrats, seeming to be more aligned with the Palestinian side, can we just say, and Republicans more aligned now. All this is what they align with is all just strategic. So I'm neither here nor there. But I just think that this is just something that is just one of those things where it's like, yo, how did this even happen? Like, nobody did their research. Nobody Googled this. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little mix up. Who knows?
Activities. So now obviously, how much of this do you think is coincidence? How much you think it's intentional? How much of it you think is just a pure screw up that they did?
We're not even gonna keep going with that. Why? Because I got to show y'all something else before we head out. All right, so I only got a little bit of time. I wanted to show y'all this this Plies video. And do I have enough time? All right, so we'll get through this. Let me show y'all this Plies video. Let me go on Instagram real quick. Hold on. Let me show y'all this video from our buddy Plies. Bust shit, baby. All right, here we go. Where we at? Plies, where you at? There you go. Take a look at this video. We know that there's been a lot of pressure. We showed some of the videos with Ricky Smiley and some other folks getting mad at black men and black people for not just supporting Kamala just because she's a black, and we could have a Delta swearing an AKA on MLK Day who was an alpha, like all this other empty symbolism, right? Let's hear what Plies' advice is. Maybe Plies has some good advice to give us. Hold
on. But to everybody, just real quick, But to everybody who, especially the ones who look like me, and the men who look like me, who quick to, if Kamala want my vote, she need to explain herself to me. What?
Fellas, when we have kids, and I don't know how Plies grew up with a father in the house or not, because I'll be totally honest. Just growing up with a father in the house is not enough, but obviously we all know that that is a huge cheat code, biggest cheat code of my life. Weak male leadership will always put us in a position that creates chaos. Weak men just going along with the get along will put us in a position where chaos is created. As men, are we living based on the same principles that we would tell the younger generation to live by? Are we making decisions, the tough decisions? Because it's not when you're deciding something that's easy that nobody's impacted by. It's not those decisions when you got to stand on your principles, morals, and values, right? It's when it's difficult. It's when the options are not favorable. That's when we got to stand on it. Listen to this fool.
She gonna do for the black people? Listen. Stop asking a motherfucking black woman to explain themselves to you. Or explain.
Yeah.
Explain themselves to y'all. If y'all ain't willing to ask a motherfucking white man, then motherfucking explain himself. Y'all cool with the white man not explaining himself.
Is this man a fool? Are you trying to say that Trump does not get asked to explain himself? Do I need to bring up the video again where Trump was on stage with the three or four black women that were interviewing him at the National Association of Black Journalists, in which the first question, how she started it off? Matter of fact, hold on. I forgot I got the mic over. Hold on. We're going to look at it because I like actually showing y'all in real time. Hold on. Donald Trump, NABJ. So he said, man, hold on, stop asking the black woman if you ain't gonna ask the white man. Okay, cool. So let's see if Trump gets asked certain questions. Hold on.
Impact with the candidates who are running for president and the impact of those policies, especially in black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton.
Let me fast forward a bit before we get the legend on stage.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Donald Trump doesn't get asked questions? Donald Trump doesn't get asked questions? Can I go back to this fool on Instagram? And it's when this is the problem with idolatry. This fool has a voice. Why does Ricky Smiley, a paid fool? These are comedians, paid fools. They're there to make us laugh, entertain us, not to educate us. So whether it's D.L. Hughley, whether it's Ricky Smiley, whether it's Steve Harvey, whether it's Plies, who's a former rapper, and I go on, I went on this Plies' page to look at this article, and I'm seeing women, I saw a homegirl of mine that went to college with me, college educated, very intelligent woman, supporting what Ply said. Why? Well, y'all know why. Because as black people, y'all didn't know it's okay for us to just support everything black. Y'all didn't know that? Y'all didn't know that even though we will call out somebody else for not giving us something or us not being able to have something because we're black, when it's in this situation where we're just voting for somebody and supporting somebody because we're black, that's all good. Y'all know that. Come on, we did that with Barack. I didn't know anything about politics. I voted for Barack because he's black. Y'all did too. Let's take a look at what Ply said again. This fool.
Who, especially the ones who look like me, and the men who look like me, who quick to, if Kamala want my vote, she need to explain herself to me what she gonna do for the black people. Listen, stop asking a motherfucking black woman to explain themselves to you or explain themselves to y'all. If y'all ain't willing to ask a motherfucking white man, to motherfucking explain himself. Y'all cool with the white man not explaining his motherfucking self to you. Oh, the motherfucking black, she need to explain herself to me what she gonna do for the black community. She want my vote, she need to explain herself. You ain't motherfucking asking the white man to explain his motherfucking self. You too motherfucking scared to ask him. Motherfucking somebody.
I swear this stuff just comes off the top of my head. I'm telling y'all, hold on. I gotta show y'all something else. I have to. Let me see if I don't think I queued this one up, but give me a second. Because I have to show y'all this. What was it? Hold on one second. It was Trump. Hold on. I have to show y'all this. So this goes back to, hold on. All right, let me just Google it. Oh yeah, here it is right here. I found it. Wait, no, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Is this it? All right, this is it right here. Hold on. I want y'all to take a look at this video.
No group in America has been more harmed by Hillary Clinton's policies than African Americans. No group. If Hillary Clinton's goal was to inflict pain on the African American community, she could not have done a better job. It's a disgrace. Tonight, I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future.
Now, ChatGPT. I'm gonna tell y'all what I asked ChatGPT. Hold on one second. I asked ChatGPT, and unless somebody comes out and tells me that ChatGPT is Republican, is ran by Republicans, and the Trump administration bullied ChatGPT into censoring certain information, I'm gonna go off of ChatGPT. So that video that you just saw was Trump. Obviously, you saw Trump Pence. So that was when he was running against Hillary. I believe that was against Hillary. And hold on, do I have the exact date? Let me see if I got the date up here. That was 7 years ago. That was posted 7 years ago. So that was against Hillary. That was 2016, 17, 16. And it was 7 years and some change. I want to tell y'all what ChatGPT said that Donald Trump actually did. So I'm telling y'all, all I wrote, I should have screenshot it on my ChatGPT, but it is what it is. Y'all gonna have to trust my word. I said, what did Trump do for Black Americans as president? During Donald Trump's presidency, several actions and initiatives were presented as efforts to benefit Black Americans. Here are some key examples. Criminal justice reform. The most notable piece of legislation under Trump's administration was the First Step Act, which was passed in December 2018. The bipartisan bill aimed to reform the criminal justice system by reducing mandatory. And I said bipartisan like that because whenever I hear Biden doing something, it's always highlighted that he got the Republicans to bipartisan. When I hear Kamala talking about they finally reached the border issue after she was the one that messed it up in the beginning, it's all bipartisan. Okay, so cool. This bipartisan bill aimed to reform the criminal justice system by reducing mandatory minimum sentences for certain nonviolent crimes, providing more opportunities for inmates to earn early release through good behavior, and expanding prison rehab programs. The First Step rehabilitation. The First Step Act has been widely recognized as a significant step towards addressing some aspects of mass incarceration which disproportionately affect Black Americans. Now, I told y'all about the commission that Donald Trump put together, in which it was very bipartisan. He had Larry Elder on there, who's more conservative, also had the Reverend Al Sharpton on there, which we know is a super liberal. That group was created to address exactly what this says in the last sentence. A significant step towards addressing some aspects of mass incarceration which disproportionately affects Black Americans. It was identified to show certain things that disproportionately impact Black Americans in a negative way. That was why he created the council. So that was number one, criminal justice reform. Number two, opportunity zones. As part of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, the Trump administration introduced opportunity zones, which provided tax incentives for businesses to invest in economically distressed areas. These zones were intended to spur economic development and job creation in underserved communities, many of which have significant Black populations. The effectiveness and impact of opportunity zones has been debated, with some arguing that they have led to gentrification and benefited wealthier investors more than the intended communities. Just reading what's on here. HBCU funding. The Trump administration increased federal funding for historically Black colleges and universities. In 2019, Trump signed the Future Act, which made permanent more than $250 million in annual funding for HBCUs and other minority-serving institutions. The administration also claimed credit for securing increased funding for HBCUs compared to previous administrations. So not just you got to come to us and ask for money every year. This Future Act was to guarantee that they get more than $250 million in annual funding, specifically for HBCUs and other minority-serving institutions. That was number three. Number four, economic policies and unemployment rates. Trump often cited low Black unemployment rates during his administration as evidence of his economic policies benefiting Black Americans. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, the Black unemployment rate had reached record lows, which the administration attributed to its economic and regulatory policies. Look it up. Don't take what I'm saying or what I'm reading. Look it up for yourself. The Platinum Plan. During the 2020 presidential campaign, Trump announced the Platinum Plan, which promised to create 3 million new jobs for the Black community, increase access to capital, and designate the Ku Klux Klan and Antifa as terrorist organizations. The plan also aimed to make Juneteenth a national holiday. Critics viewed the plan as a political strategy to gain support from Black voters. Obviously, Trump lost that election. Biden was the one that ended up making Juneteenth a national holiday. These are just the things that were highlighted. And I want to be very clear, just so I'm being unbiased in reporting the news on Trump, because a lot of people tend to think that Trump is the biggest racist in America. He's Hitler. He's all these things. I just want to make sure that in this regard that I'm being objective. And this is why I'm telling you guys to look it up. While these initiatives were highlighted as efforts to support Black Americans, opinions on their effectiveness and impact varied widely. And the Trump administration faced criticism for other aspects of its policies and rhetoric that many perceived as harmful to minority communities. I don't know how y'all perceive it. I'm just highlighting it. I'm highlighting the fact that for years, Black people specifically have supported the Democrats and their policies. And just look at it like this. If we've supported the policies for all this time, and if for 12 out of the last 16 years was Democratic leadership, how are they then scaring us with This is the most important election because if we don't win this one, because we're in such a bad place, you're going back to chains and shackles. Why would I want to support a group that I've given my support for generations and generations? I've given you my support. You've been in power 12 out of the last 16 years. "75% of the time you've been in power of the last 16 years. And this is an election that's going to determine whether or not I'm in chains and shackles? Bro, whoa, 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 whoa. What was I giving you my support for? Now let's go back to the Plies video. This is the difference. We're asking questions to Democrats just like you just saw those ladies asking a question to Donald Trump, starting off the conversation very aggressively, if I may add. But let me be clear. We need to ask the Democrats more questions because we've been paying them in our support with our votes. You're telling me that you're going to ask the same amount of questions to the person that you already paid for something and you paid for an item and you never got it. Matter of fact, you paid 100 times for an item and you never got it. And you're telling me, which is stupid that you even made it to 100, just using that, just whatever, neither here nor there. And you're telling me that, oh, well, you trying to ask this person questions who represents this party that keeps giving us blank promises, even though we keep giving them checks that cash, but they keep giving us nothing in return. But I'm supposed to ask this person who we've never supported the same questions. I'm supposed to have that energy to him. I haven't supported them. I haven't paid them. I may ask them some questions to see if I want to now pay them. But his mindset of it's just totally off, but that I can't even say it's unique to just being a dumb rapper. I can't say that. I can't just sit here and say, like a lot of people just say, like, why are you listening to these dumb celebrities? Bro, in case y'all haven't noticed, it doesn't matter whether you're a professional, doctor, lawyer, teacher, professor, whatever it is, people think the same way. People think the same way. Let's continue.
I need to explain something to y'all. Well, she been in the office already 3.5 years. Why she ain't do all the things she said she was gonna do? Cause she ain't the motherfucking president. That's why. When you go to the motherfucking McDonald's, that lady that's the motherfucking manager, she don't get to do what the fuck she want to do. She might can give you some motherfucking fries, but that's about it. Some free motherfucking fries. That's about all she can motherfucking do. But she can't change the price of that motherfucking quarter pound up there. Or that motherfucking Big Mike.
See, I worked at McDonald's. He's a fool. Customer ain't happy. You're damn right you're changing the price of that quarter pounder. You're giving it to me for free. If you mess up my order, yeah, a good manager, when you go to a restaurant, it doesn't matter whether it's McDonald's or a good restaurant. When the customer's not happy, when the customer says, this is a little off, just like we know the Democrats and how they elected Kamala or how they nominated Kamala was a little bit off. Yeah, we're going to have some extra questions. And yeah, that manager, yo, bro, you got to bring out a free dessert or something. An apology ain't enough. Oh, sir, you didn't like your food? No, I didn't like it. It was very bad. It seemed like the fish was old. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. You better give me a gift certificate or something, or give me something, figure it out.
That ain't that motherfucking lady.
This is Stockholm Syndrome at its finest. Stockholm Syndrome at its finest. You're more upset about somebody that you didn't support. The person that you've been supporting that's been lying to you, been abusing you, been taking you for granted, been taking advantage of you. You're more upset at the person that just never dated you than this person.
White House. She just like the motherfucking man. You motherfucking fall in line. Now, if you can get some motherfucking free fries out every now and again, you get some motherfucking free fries out. But y'all motherfucking know this. Most of y'all. But y'all just want something to motherfucking say. Now, she was the...
Matter of fact, I apologize. I apologize for even showing this ignorant thing. Hold on. Let me give y'all an example. I swear I can't make this up. I swear I can't make this up. I swear you can't make this up. So you know how it shows you the people that you follow, their comments? So I was talking about somebody that I went to college with, a homegirl, right? I swear this is the first time that I'm seeing a young lady that I met out at what was the Super Bowl before Vegas? Phoenix Super Bowl. Was working as one of the vendors, moving around, and I was doing like kind of like a tour or whatever. And intelligent person. This is the comment that she writes. Sir, you have really been dropping some gems the last few weeks, and I'm so here for it. Thank you, thank you, thank you for saying the things that need to be said. When we have weak male leadership, it creates chaos. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. I have nothing else to say. I have nothing else to say. We're going to do our 30 to 45 seconds of meditation like we do after every show. Meditate, visualize, do whatever you need to do. We're going to take the time to clear our mind. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place. Ready, go. All right. Let me catch up with a couple of these comments. My fault. I know. All right, let me catch up with the comments real quick and then we'll get out of here. So iRock, shout out to the homie iRock. The problem is people fall for it. They're letting themselves be brainwashed. It's got to stop. I agree. We allow it though. People don't see it. I agree. Shy, my girl Shy. It's a shit show and I'm sick of it. That's the thing. Like, I'm just like, can we just do better? Like, can we just do better? Can we just acknowledge that things are messed up right now? Can we just do better? Can we take a step back? Not be ruled by our allegiances and our fanaticism. Not be misled by our emotions. Can we just do what makes sense? Let me, and I know these are older comments. Hold on. So iRock wrote, my 12-year-old daughter asked me why I wouldn't vote for her because she's a woman, because girl power, right? I said, you can't just have any woman be the first lady president. It's got to be the right one. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Seriously. Sad truth is the president only has so much power. Congress has the power. We need to clean house and set term limits. I agree. RFK has the right idea with being in non-corrupt, with bringing in non-corrupt people for Congress. I agree. So, look, we didn't get through half of the stuff that we were supposed to get through today, but that only means that we're going to have a packed show on Friday. On Fridays, y'all know I typically go a little bit longer, but we're getting there. Don't get discouraged. And to be totally honest, remember that it's not your job to convince anybody to change their opinions on things. It's not your job. If you take that mission on, then take that mission on, and we appreciate you for it. But it's going to be a very frustrating journey. People don't want to change. And maybe, like I said to my mom yesterday, maybe we need Kamala Harris to be president. Maybe we need to see what happens when we continue to vote for what we perceive as the lesser of two evils. Maybe we need to see what it's like when you don't care what somebody's policies are. You don't care what their level of intelligence, how they're able to keep conversations. We didn't even talk about this interview that she's getting ready to do. We didn't even talk about the debate that she asked to sit down and debate Donald Trump with notes. We didn't even get to that. We will get to that on Friday. But maybe we need Kamala Harris to be president. Maybe we need things to get shaken up a little bit for us to wake up. Maybe we need Kamala Harris to go over there and negotiate with China. Maybe we need Kamala Harris to go negotiate with Kim Jong-un, North Korea, I believe that's the name. My apologies if I'm mistaken, if I'm saying it wrong. Maybe we need her negotiating. Did I say Putin? Yeah. In all these other areas to where there's a lot at risk. We've never been as close to where we are now to a nuclear war. That's all I keep hearing. There's so much fear. Think about the fear on both sides of these political parties. We got to figure out a way. We got to figure out a way. All right, so with that said, y'all know what it is. We're here to elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint as well as doing what it takes to build ourselves up into the human being that we need to become in order to lead and guide our community, our village, our tribe in a positive direction. Period. Strength and honor, onward and upward, and get to that bag. It's halftime, reset on a Wednesday, and let's be prepared to have a Thursday and Friday that will solidify this being the greatest week of all time for us. That's the objective every Monday. We're at Wednesday. We still got an opportunity, all right? It's going to make or break us based on the rest we get tonight and our output tomorrow. Let's just focus on tomorrow. I was going to say tomorrow and Friday. Let's focus on tomorrow. With that, I'll see y'all soon. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all for always tapping in. Please make sure that you like. It's going to help boost the algorithm. Like before you leave. And whether you're looking at the show live or not, click the button below. Share with a friend. Share with a friend, and let's have more and more people join these conversations, because that's what we need. More perspectives, more people having genuine conversations so we all can grow. And with that, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.